I forgot something. I forgot about Anthony telling Shayla that she needs to start paying her own rent. She can't do that. She ain't on the lease. She not on the lease. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna tell you what I think gonna happen. The person that owned that house, that apartment, gonna find out she there, and she gonna have to leave anywhere. So if they go for child support, somehow Shayla gonna find out about that $2 million. She gonna find out about that because that money is in PR's bank account. She ain't touched it, but it's in her bank account. And you know her and Shayla are close. If Shayla starts talking about child support, I think PR is gonna bring that up. That about that $2 million. She gonna get Anthony. Anthony don't realize that, you know, you're telling her now to pay her own rent because she's moved on with someone else. But her and Iman are not married. You still gonna be obligated with that for that child regardless. It don't make a difference. You still gonna be obligated. But there are men that do go back to court if that woman does get married and say, I'm not gonna be paying for another man's lifestyle. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. But at the end of the day, if you do kick Shayla out, you think your mom's not gonna let her stay there with him? If they are together like that? If he lets Shayla stay there with him, he got the room. But I love that they do incorporate Judy and her sister. But I'm just waiting for them to have that conversation as far as why they broke up, because I really would like to know. But it would be interesting if they did a storyline. But see, they need to talk to Tiana about that first. I think they need to talk to Tiana and say, well, is it okay for Iman to make up some makeup story? Even though it's not real because these are skits, like y'all said. But for him to be able to talk about what happened and how he's coping, they can incorporate it a little bit by saying, because she did get on there and talk about it. I'm like, you know what? We need to get Shayla what she asked, how is he dealing with co-parenting and how does he deal with that? That needs to be asked because she's about to go through it. So why shouldn't she ask Iman about how him and Tiana are handling their co-parenting situation? Because, I think she should ask. That way it gives her advice. But the fact that he's saying he want her to pay rent, all it is like he told Wayne, he didn't think that Shayla was going to move on. He thought Shayla was always going to be an option, that anytime he wanted to go back to Shayla, she would go back to Shayla. But this time, this ain't Mike. This ain't Mike. This is Iman Shepherd. So at the end of the day, Iman is not Mike. But like I said, the fact that Piari and Rome took it to the next level, I'm not surprised that they did. But honey, you better get that key from Anthony before he finds out about it. Because you might lose that man because of Anthony. Because you got to understand, Anthony did. I'm waiting. This is what I'm waiting on. I'm waiting on I'm waiting on Dalen to find out that Anthony is the reason that him and Piari broke up. I'm waiting for that to come out. Because Anthony is going to try to interfere in Piari's relationship. He is. Because Anthony wants all the women around him single. So if he becomes single, he has an option. So in that way, I do think he's selfish in that aspect. I do. Amber, I do not think it's a good idea that you get this baby. You and Anthony are nowhere near in a good place. Y'all are still fighting about Shayla. Y'all still got to deal with how y'all gonna deal with that. You and Shayla need to have a conversation. Look, it's time. It's time for y'all to have a conversation. It's really time for y'all to really sit down and really figure out as far as how y'all are going to go about, this situation and coexisting. Y'all ain't got to like each other. But what is more to me got to do with is, if you're going to be around her child, then you need to understand that I can't really say that I blame her, Shayla, for, how she feels. Because in the end, the fact that you're finding out that my child is your husband's, I got to worry about what you may or may not do. So I'm really, I understand where, she's coming from. I do. I absolutely get it. So I really think that at this point in juncture, they really need to have a conversation. They really do. They need to have a conversation. So I'm hoping that if they do have a conversation, they definitely need to, try to have somebody, a third party there. Because Amber needs to figure out why Shayla went after her husband in the first place. Her man, I should say. So that conversation does need to be had. And I think that would be a very interesting conversation because that would give Amber a very big reality check. It would, because for Shayla to say you act like you didn't want him, for her to really bring up a very uncomfortable truth for Amber, the fact that you went out, you dated a man that never wanted you in the first place, you went behind your man that is now your husband's back, slept with him all the way up to the wedding. I'm trying to tell you, Shayla is gonna hit her where it hurt. She is. And when she do, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hit Amber in a way, because Amber gonna have to realize you the one that gave her the permission to date your husband the minute you said that you would sleep with Wayne. The minute you slept with Wayne and you made it seem like you didn't care about Anthony's feelings, that was a wrap right there. So again, this ain't nothing but her karma, and I don't know why everybody don't understand that, but Shayla, this needs to happen. That's what they need to work on. That conversation. So the fact that both of them need to see the counselor, both of them need to have this conversation, because one of the parts of her getting David back is she gonna have to talk to Shayla. She gonna have to make amends with Shayla to get David back. I promise you that's what's gonna have to happen. So she's gonna have to make amends with Shayla, because the one thing about court, they're gonna bring that up. And they're going to be like, you're going to have to make amends with his baby's mother before you can even get David back. You're going to have to fix things with Shayla. And she's going to have to. She's going to have to swallow her pride. She's going to have to go in there and she's going to have to take everything that Shayla dish out. And she got to remain calm at all times. But in the end, at least you got closure. These two need closure. So Wayne, you need to put that together where these two finally have that showdown, of that confrontation. Because I'm trying to tell you, Shayla is gonna hit Amber where it hurt. Shayla, because Amber gonna come in there at first with that, making it seem like all this stuff, but Shayla gonna be like, did you want him when you were sleeping with Wayne? When I came to you about it, you act like you didn't care about that man. You act like you had no feelings for him at all. Like it didn't matter. So I'm just saying, you need to be very, 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 very mindful of that. So all I can say in this situation is a confrontation between these two is coming. It needs to. They need closure. Even though they're never gonna be friends again, at least there is closure. Because if she's gonna stay with Anthony, it has to happen. Because eventually these two are gonna have a confrontation. And both of them gonna find out some things, because Shayla is gonna tell her that the only reason that y'all are back together is because of those counseling. And see, when everything come out, neither one of them may be with them. But it's a conversation that both of them need to have, because Shayla don't know that Anthony did this because he was trying to get back with his wife before she found out. And Amber don't know that he told Shayla that he was just doing this for his income. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how this play out. But yeah, they need to have that conversation. They really, really do. And that will be a conversation that I would love to see. But they need to do it in a counseling session. There needs to be a mediator. Somebody else need to be there. There needs to be a mediator, even if it's Coco and Angelina. Both of them. Somebody need to be there. Because Coco needs to be there when it comes to Amber, and Angelina need to be there when it comes to Shayla. And that way it won't be no disrespect across the board. That way both of them can sit down, have the conversation, put everything on the table, and then they can basically say, you know what, we're never going to be friends, but you know what, I appreciate you telling me whatever you told me, and then vice versa. Both of them figure out what they're going to do based on what both of them have told the other. Because both of them being played. Both of them are being played. And it needs to come out. Because he played both of them. But I digress. We'll see how it play out.